Google's in the news, but not because they released a groundbreaking new device or technology, but because of an internal memo posted by one of their employees that has some pretty undeniably controversial opinions voiced. This is a document from one of their engineers called Google's Ideological Echo Chamber, and in it, the person who wrote it says that they feel like they're discriminated against because they have views that are outside the norm at Google. The person who wrote the document, according to Vice's motherboard section, says, the person who wrote the document argued that the representation gap between men and women in software engineering persists because of biological differences between the two sexes, according to public tweets from Google employees. It also said Google should not offer programs for underrepresented racial or gender minorities, according to one of the employees that the reporter spoke to. Google, of course, is under investigation from the Labor Department, who found that there is increased disparity between men and women within their labor practices, where men get paid more for similar work. This is not unique within Silicon Valley. If you need to look no further than some news about places like Uber and then sexual harassment cases where the disparity between men and women within Silicon Valley, maybe because it's an engineering field and STEM hasn't really been prioritized for female students as much as it has been for men, just because of a legacy of gender role stereotyping. Google came back and said, you know what? Exactly what you would hope and think that they might say as a response from their vice president of diversity, integrity, and governance, Danielle Brown, who posted a statement saying, "We are unequivocal in our belief that diversity and inclusion are critical to our success as a company. Part of building an open, inclusive environment means fostering a culture in which those with alternative views, including different political views, feel safe sharing their opinions. But that discourse needs to work alongside the principles of equal employment found in our code of conduct, policies, and anti-discrimination laws." So a lot to unpack here. We'll go through the specifics in a minute, but first, thoughts, 5 words or less.
Please Google proper work etiquette.
STFU, Google it.
Just sounds like you're racist. So you read these kinds of things that come out, specifically this one. It's a 10-page manifesto written very obviously by an engineer. What do you think?
Well, something that we talked about before we went to tape is that it's strange how it is so complex in its wording and yet still so amorphous and vague in what it is actually calling out.
Yeah. What do you think, Jason?
I mean,
it's dense. I mean, it's 10
it's a lot.
pages.
It's so long.
Right, it was a lot.
There's charts and graphs.
Where can they find it if they want to read the full
Gizmodo.
Gizmodo has the full 10 pages.
On Recode, Kara Swisher, who I love and adore, she writes as a journalist for Recode. Awesome chick, really went into depth. But there was like, CNBC this morning did the top 10 divisive and offensive quotes from this manifesto, and one that was really like crazy for me. I mean, they were all crazy, and I mean, I'm not in accordance with anything that he said, but one thing that really was like, was that he said women on average look for more work-life balance, why men have a higher drive for status on average. Unfortunately, as long as tech and leadership remains high status and lucrative careers, men may disproportionately want to be in them, allowing and truly endorsing as a part of our culture part-time work, though can keep more women in tech, saying that women don't want these high-paying lucrative jobs, that they just want, but in order to keep them in tech because they're gonna weed themselves out, they should work part-time. That was like, are you kidding me? Out of control crazy.
It's so, like, that is it. That is this attempt to throw what sound like stats at you, to say like, what just confuse you, but really what he's saying is women can't do this because they're not like that. And what he should be saying is if women want to do that, if men want to do that, they can do it. This is implying that people are better than other people. That's what he says outright. Certain people are better than others and we should be okay with that. And it's like, no, people might perform better or worse in certain areas, but you can't just then make a blanket statement because here's the lay of the land, here's all the stats out there that, okay, black people do this and white people do this, so I'm choosing white people to keep getting all these jobs. When it's like, you don't have to do much studying to find there's like a legacy of systemic racism within America, starting with slavery. And we are unpacking it, hopefully, to make it a better place and a more accepting place for people within society. But right now, Google's like, listen, I would like a more diverse field. let's do that, and I'm fine with that.
And a lot of his comparisons are not based on actual skills of men versus women. He's talking about hormonal differences between men and women, emotional differences between men and women, saying that men are more pragmatic and think, whereas women respond emotionally, which I didn't agree with at all. But one of the things, though, that I will say he said that I kind of agreed with is that people should not be afraid to share their opinion, even if it is dissenting or not the popular opinion, which I do agree. And Danielle Brown also agreed with that. Like, yes, we should be able to. Grace, just example, I may not agree with something that you're saying, but I shouldn't be afraid to have a conversation with you as long as we're respectful about it. But as he says in the article, with our shaming society, people are so quick to vilify you and to come for you in a way that's like super aggressive, that makes people not want to be as transparent and give full disclosure to how they truly feel. And I also think that now the workplace at Google, because there's some tweets from people who were like, wow, I never knew this was going on. Wow, I'm shocked to see all the people who actually agree with this guy. Now it's also making for lack of a better word, a hostile work environment for people at Google. Would you guys agree?
I mean, here's what he said. He said there's an echo chamber of people who have these liberal ideas. That's how he does it. But his justification for circulating his own statements is that he found an echo chamber of his own. He found this group of people that said, yeah, boom, and he sends it out. And what he's finding is that his ideas aren't right. They aren't good. He talks about moral bias, he has this whole breakdown, it's this whole BS, old school hack, like breakdown, trying to say that moral biases are the same as racial biases in their essence, when it's like, no, moral biases, you look at things and you make qualitative judgments. Racial biases are totally constructed over years and years of back when shitty slavery days.
It's disappointing too, because a manifesto like this doesn't bring people to the table and deconstruct the echo chamber that he really has a lot of disdain for. This doesn't help to make a more accepting and conducive work environment, because you've just isolated an entire portion of your office that's now like, wow, this guy totally sucks. And like, I think that maybe if he'd reached out to some of his coworkers and be like, I feel this way, and like I'm feeling kind of crazy about this way, then maybe they could have had a conversation. Because here's the thing, there are genetical hormonal differences between men and women. Like, yeah, there are, absolutely. Like, I'm about to start my period, you guys aren't. So that's something different that we don't have in common.
I apologize for not having a period.
That said, it doesn't mean, I hate when people use that as just like, so they're different, so like they just could never understand this and that.
Sure.
Why use that to dismiss an entire population? Why not reach out and see, okay, so you experience this differently, I experience this differently, what strengths could you bring to the table? Not like, by saying that they're not interested, it's not conducive, you're already just dismissing
dismissing.
Yeah, you're not engaging in them and having a conversation, which seems like what he wants to do. He's like, I can't believe I can't have these conversations. No one will listen to me. No one will talk to me. Yeah, dude, because you're not engaging. You're not looking to have a conversation. You're releasing an entire manifesto. That's not a question and answer session where we can learn and grow together. That's you being like, here, women are like this.
But you're right, Grace. But I mean, I don't know the guy, but he did that because, again, the fear of being shamed. He felt like in the article it says that some of these people also feel the same way as he do, but he does. I'm sorry, but because of fear of being fired or for whatever reason, they don't talk about it. It's the same thing with Trump. Like, I was blown away by how many people that I knew that I thought thought a certain way when the election happened, we're like, whoa, wait a minute, you're not the person I thought you were.
Yeah, here's my genuine feeling on that is, like, there was a time, and I'm glad we got to a point in society where this guy's kinds of thoughts, he doesn't find a lot of allies, and I think that's good.
Yeah.
And I like the pressure on him to be, careful about how, I think that serves to make him more careful about how he presents his inherently super racist and sexist opinions. I want him to come to the conversation. I'm glad we've gotten the conversation to the point where you can't just jump in and be like, black people are worse than white people and men are better than women. I like that that this guy has to look around and be like, all right, here's how. And I think he should have taken the approach of like, let's unpack this and make sure that we are accomplishing the goals we're seeking to accomplish. Instead, now you find a world in which it's so much easier for people to get the shittiest part of this kind of thought process stoked and bolstered by other people with shitty parts of this thought process. It's easier online to find people who are just as shitty in the worst way.
Well, also that it shows how flimsy the backdrop for this manifesto really is, that he's so afraid to be challenged that he just released a manifesto. It wasn't a conversation, because when you have sound, if you were to put this in a debate versus this guy versus the other, he would lose, because the facts are just simply not on his side.
Right, and I think those facts are like, when he says stuff like women on average are, my response is, I don't care. You're saying that because women are on average this way, women can't do this. I don't even care if you're right on the on average or you're wrong about the on average thing. You're essentially saying women, white people, black people, Asian people, whatever kind, you're saying a kind of people can't do that because of your group of statistics on average. Well, the average has outliers, even by your shitty definition of what that average concludes. So we're just saying, let people do what they want to do, what they are capable of doing. And my contention is, like, if there's systemic racism against them up until now, I think that something like these initiatives to encourage diversity are only good for society. And by your definition, since you've had you say that you're better at stuff because of these statistics. I say you've probably had an easier way of it because of these statistics. So since you've had the donut off your bat swinging, let's put a donut on it, and you just have to get better, asshole.
Yeah!
That's it.
So many mics were just dropped by Brett Evan Ehrlich.
I have vertigo, I don't care today.